Donald Trump's announcement of a naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz has triggered a sharp escalation in global tensions, shaking energy markets and raising fears of a major oil shock, rising inflation, and disruption to international trade. So, what exactly is happening and how will it affect the world and India? Let us break it down. Donald Trump's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Notably, the crisis escalated after Donald Trump ordered a naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, following the collapse of US-Iran talks in Islamabad. And under this move, US naval forces have been instructed to intercept vessels entering or leaving Iranian-controlled waters. And the main objective is to restrict Iran's oil exports, reduce its revenue, and force it back into negotiations on US terms, including limits on its nuclear program and regional influence. And Washington has justified the move by calling it a response to Iran's economic extortion and its growing control over one of the world's most strategic shipping routes. However, the decision has immediately raised global concern because the Strait of Hormuz is a critical artery for global energy supply. Well, firstly, let us understand that how markets reacted. Notably, following the announcement, global oil markets reacted instantly as Brent crude rose more than 8% in a single day. Prices crossed $103 per barrel, reaching the psychologically important $100 mark again. And this is the first sustained jump above $100 since earlier volatility during the conflict. Earlier, oil had even touched highs above $110 to $119 before easing briefly during a fragile ceasefire period. And at the same time, global financial markets turned negative. As Asian stock markets opened lower, Japan's Nikkei fell around 0.9%, South Korea's Kospi dropped over 1%, and US futures linked to the S&P 500 also slipped. Well, the message from markets is clear that uncertainty has returned strongly. Now let us shed light on the global impact, as oil shock and economic pressure will definitely be higher after this announcement. As the Strait of Hormuz handles around 20% of global oil and gas supply, making it one of the most important energy choke points in the world. Even the threat of disruption creates immediate ripple effects across the global economy, as transport and logistics head first. Oil is the backbone of global transport, and when prices rise, shipping becomes more expensive, air travel costs increase, trucking and freight charges go up. And all these costs don't stay in the transport sector, they spread everywhere in the supply chain. Number 2, food and daily essentials become costlier. Well, agriculture depends heavily on fuel for machinery and irrigation, fertilizer production, transportation of goods. So when oil prices rise, food prices rise too, affecting groceries and essentials worldwide. Number 3, global inflation returns. Higher energy prices create a broad inflationary cycle. As goods become more expensive, services cost more, and living costs rise in both the rich and developing countries. And countries already struggling with inflation face even more pressures. Number 4, trade and shipping disruption. Another major impact is on global trade, as shipping insurance premiums rise sharply in conflict zones. Risk of delays increases, international trade becomes more expensive and uncertain, and this weakens already fragile global supply chains. Well, now let us shed light on the impact on India. India is among the most exposed economies because it imports a large share of its crude oil from Gulf countries that depend heavily on the Strait of Hormuz. And if the crisis continues, India could face serious economic pressure. Number 1, higher fuel import bill. India's oil import costs rise directly with global crude prices, increasing pressure on government finances and the economy. Number 2, rising fuel prices domestically. Higher crude price lead to costlier petrol and diesel, higher transport fares, and increased logistics cost. Number 3, inflation across sectors. Since fuel is a key input in almost every sector, food becomes more expensive, manufacturing costs rise, and supply chain expenses increases. And this leads to broad-based inflation in daily life. Number 4, pressure on currency and trade balance. Rising oil imports can also weaken the Indian rupee and widen the trade deficit, and increases external financial pressure. Well, let us understand about a global economic flashpoint after this Trump's blockade. Notably, Trump's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz has transformed a regional conflict into a global economic risk event. Oil prices are rising, markets are reacting negatively, and uncertainty is spreading across global trade and inflation outlooks. And for the world, the concern is rising energy cost and inflation. And for India, the impact is more direct: higher fuel prices, rising living costs, and economic pressure across sectors. So what happens next depends on whether tensions ease or escalate further. But for now, the Strait of Hormuz has become one of the most critical flashpoints in the global economy. That's all for now. Stay tuned to the Savera for more updates. Do like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.